My journey into fashion was a very personal first step. First of all, fashion encompasses all industries, from agriculture, with cotton farming, for example, to cattle ranching for leather, sheep grazing, wool. Then you move into the spinning, weaving, dyeing. Then you go into the cut and trim army of millions of labor to make the garments. So production supply chains are very, very, very complicated. But it's the cut and trim industry that was particularly interesting to me. And it's the first time in my life that I realized the link between fashion and human rights and slavery. When I went to Bangladesh in 2009 to visit a factory that was producing clothes for a brand that I won't name, but that we all know very well. And I was shocked because I arrived in Dhaka and there was an armed guard at the door. They checked our bags to make sure that we didn't have cameras. But the armed guard meant that no worker, and they were all women, could come in and out of the building without authorization. So they were entrapped there until the boss decided that the workday was finished. The women were working, they had to produce 100 pieces an hour. And in 2009, I can't remember what the living wage was, the minimum wage. But I can tell you that this year it's been raised to $60 a month. And as a result, from 100 pieces an hour, now they have to produce 120 an hour because the living wage is higher. The windows were barred. Basically, these women were enslaved, entrapped in this building. The toilet break was twice a day, no more than that. So I was completely shocked. And I thought, hold on a second. This is the first time they realized that we as Western shoppers are responsible for the life of the women on the other side of the world. They're like ghosts. Nobody knows of them. The companies have, make sure that we are so divorced from who produces the clothes that we never think about them. So from 2009 to today, we all know, and Monique referred to the Rana Plaza disaster too, the factory collapse, which was the biggest industrial accident in history. But there are incidents like this every day around the world. So I started to say, how can we change this? And then I realized that actually we can't change anything until we address the issue of fast fashion and fast food. But in my case, I'll talk about fast fashion. Because what happened was, as we have been part of a big Machiavellian game, because fast fashion is a pretty recent phenomenon, it's the last 15 to 20 years. And fast fashion corporations have been outsourced their productions to poor countries, so Bangladesh, Vietnam, Cambodia. And what they do is they enslave these countries with by having them become addicted to the idea of enrichment. But in fact, they're like a very good pusher, right? They go in the country, they make very good deal with the prospect of, wonderful growth and taking the population out of poverty. And then once they get addicted, they start pushing costs down with large volumes. And so you can't get out of this mess because they are like we are all enslaved, because also then the fast fashion corporations act as distributors. So they've enslaved us as consumers to the idea that we can have faster and ever cheaper fashion, at which cost we saw with Rana Plaza. So you can't have trade at the expense of human rights and human dignity. And unless fast fashion addresses the issue of its core business model, we will never get rid of slavery in the fashion industry, ever, no matter how many audits, how many things. Take an example like Zara is part of Inditex. They handle 1 million garments a day. They produce 10,000 looks a year. Who needs 10,000 looks? Who? you know. And so we have been playing this game as well. And what makes this big corporation, multi-billion-dollar empires, are not poor people who can't afford the clothes. It's us who can go there and buy a dress a week, you know, 2 dresses a week, so that we can always constantly be funky and trendy. But, you know, we have been taken for a ride. So we have to, as consumers, stop this, and it is in our power, you know, to do this. I always say when people ask me, you know, how can you change that, though? It's like, well, commit to wear something a minimum of 30 times. But you would be, you know, it's very interesting when you talk to women, you know, most of them, they don't wear something even twice or 3 times. And there was a big report that showed that the average garment stays in a woman's wardrobe for 5 weeks. So when I spoke to Nazma, a union worker in Bangladesh this year in April for the anniversary of Rana Plaza, you know, she said, can you please tell me why women in your part of the world consider my life cheaper than theirs? And that's the big question that no auditing can address, but this is the reality. And so we need to talk about that later, possibly.